Hello, my name's Colette. I'd like to talk to you today and give you a little introduction on practical magic. Now, one of the reasons I've called it practical magic is my magic is pretty practical. It's based a lot on folk magic. Now, magic is about sort of taking the energy from one thing, incorporating it into some sort of ritual, connecting it with other things, to give an outcome. So it's a very natural thing to do, and something that a lot of people have a great amount of interest in. There's so many ways of looking at magic, and some of the dictionary things say it's the art of moving things forward through supernatural means. There's other more defined things, but there's so many different types of magic, and there's also things that you would want to do with it and things you wouldn't. So before we actually go into some of the types of magic and the main thing that is my rule of magic as such, I'd like to go into the ethics of magic first. Should you be doing it at all? And that's the thing you have to ask yourself before you even think about doing any magic. Should you be trying to change the natural flow of events or the natural outcomes of things? Some people find that totally taboo, and if you have any sense of not wanting to be involved in something like that, then you simply shouldn't do it. And in fact, you shouldn't do it unless you've got an idea of what you're doing either. So ethically, you should not do any magic unless you're 100% sure that it's something you want to do and the outcome is for the greater good. And always think of that, is this going to be for the greater good? And also that it harms no one. These are just basic things of being a human being, that you don't want to harm anybody, and you don't want to do anything that brings maybe something good to you that actually is harmful for someone else. So always stop, and if you really hand on heart can't say, I 100% want to do this, then don't do it. It's not worth it. The Wiccan read has this threefold thing that if you do something, it will come back and hit you 3 times. There's also a sense of, the way I look at it is simply just karma. If you're doing something that isn't right and it's affecting someone else, then it will come back down and bite you in the bum. It's as simple as that. So be very, very careful with magic and make sure that you feel that it's something you want to do and also have the capabilities of doing. So that's the first thing I would say to you on the ethics of magic. There are many different types of magic, and with most people like myself, kind of mix them up a bit. There's natural magic. Now we see that in a lot of different places, not nature magic, but natural magic. If you think of a woman who sees her child being knocked down by a car, and we hear the amazing stories that she runs and she'll lift that car off her child and she'll take her child away, and she would never have had that strength to lift the car off normally. What has happened is part of a natural magical process, because magic, you have to be able to see and imagine something, and then you have the sense of focusing on it, and then there's the drive of your pure will to take it forward. And if you think of the setup where people do almost superhuman things, that's just natural magic. It's flowing through them without them thinking too much about it. And then we have the other forms of magic which are more ritualized, where they involve a ritual, a sense of moving things along in practical ways that maybe have been known for centuries, or are new things that you develop yourself for your own rituals. That type of magic comes in. My magic is folk magic, the main part of it, and it's a very earthy, kind of sometimes women's magic, although men can do it as well, it's not a problem. But it's very much based on the earth and collecting things, and basically knowing about herbs, knowing about the garden, knowing about certain things that would show themselves to us. So I think we all have a part of ourselves that's quite folksy magic. And then there's nature magic, where people will be connected to the trees and will use the moon, and there's all sorts of more connection with nature. And they wouldn't think about doing magic in a house, say they would have to be out in a grove. And there's very high ceremonial magic, which works with sacred texts, things like Kabbalah, things like alchemy. There's shamanic magic, which is part of what I do as well, which is quite a deep magic that uses different ways of moving forward through different worlds to pull things forward. And there's chaos magic, which is really focusing on the end result. It's like we can use this, pull it all together, because it's the outcome that matters at the end result. So there's lots of different types of magic, and I think you should look at them up and have a wee see what you're drawn to. But today we're going to describe some of the basic principles behind magic, whatever one you do or whatever many you bring together. I'm a bit of a magpie as well, where my magic's concerned. I kind of take things from where I need to. And I suppose that would people say that makes you a chaos magician, but I don't really think so. It does, but it doesn't. Right, so where do you start? Collect things. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's, if I get a gift in my house, the ribbon will come off it and win my magical chest. What's a magical chest? It's basic. Mine's just a huge sewing box that I have lots of little bits and bobs in it that I can actually bring together if I would need it. I collect twigs, I collect little shells, all sorts of stuff, and that basically is the start of the gathering. But you should be gathering things, stones, things that are important to you, or things that you just find that are nice. Even a string. Basically, if you're going to do some magic, it's always good to have some string. So as we go along, I'll use terms that maybe are about, the altar. What's an altar? An altar is just a sacred space where you can gather things and maybe perform your ritual, or make things more intense on the altar. And some people have magical tools. Are they necessary? They can be, but sometimes people have them and they're very ornate, but they don't need to be. But I do think it's nice to have something that represents 4 elements of fire, air, water and earth. So basically, if you collect things as you go along, then when you maybe need to do magic, you're almost there because you can put your hands on things. But if you've nothing, just start from scratch, read up more, and bit by bit build up your magical chest or your medicine pouch. I sometimes use the word medicine for magic and magic for medicine, because to me it's all about that energy that isn't everything. And all we're really doing is moving that energy or that medicine about. So collect what you can, enjoy doing it, and you'll find that the nice things come to you. How do we go about magic? Well, if you've got a few of the tools, that's great. But the things that you truly need are your own desire to make something happen. Now, if you desire or wish something, you can visualize it. And some of the best magicians out there are amazing at visualization. If you can't visualize something, the magic's not really going to work. You have to be able, if you want to help someone with their health, you have to be able to visualize them in good health. If you want to have that house that you really would like to live in, you've got to be able to visualize it. So you take your wish or your desire, and it becomes your visualization. And that's the first step in magic, visualization. Now, the second thing is your focus. And it's really how you're going to focus that energy of visualization into a kind of thread or a manageable way of thinking of things. And that's that focus of how do we do this. And that's where a lot of ritual comes in. That's the intent. And that intent can be writing it on a candle. It can be using a ribbon. or it can be using all sorts of oils or incenses or petals or things, depending on the intent, sometimes called spells, etc. So you've got the visualization that has to be there first, and then you have to have a focus, which is the intent. Again, without doing the intent properly, unless it's that natural magic I've said about the woman rescuing her child, without that sort of focus of intent, you're missing a big part of it. So there's got to be that as well. And once you get those two parts together, there's the final push. And the final push to me is the really important bit. It's basically the sense of pushing it out, pushing the visualization and the intent out to wherever it's meant to go, and that could be to a deity, to the universe, to consciousness, to wherever you feel it has to go, the universe, etc. Now, that is done with your inner determination, and that is known as your will. So your will is when you literally are like, it's got to go to where it's going, and with every ounce of strength, willing it forward. And with those three things done well and put together with a good open mind, always with for the greater good, so that it hurts no one, then that's the way magic works. Now, so remember, visualization, intent, the practical part, and then will. Every type of magic you go to will have that. Now, beforehand, yes, it's nice to do an offering. It's nice to be able to give an offering first. Now, that could be lighting a candle to a deity. It could be going forward and putting some food out for birds. All these sorts of things are there. So think before you go, what deity do I want to use for this particular ritual? Or am I going to use the universe? Or what's going on here? And basically, you leave some sort of offering. And it's better to do the offering in advance. But if you can't, it's also all right to do it at the end, as long as you go into it with the intent that you are going to do something. There's also, if you've not got anything handy, then take a bit of your hair and offer your hair, or there's some people will drop a little bit of their blood, and that's probably the most intense thing that you can do, is actually use your own blood. But theoretically, using a flower to a goddess might just be easier for you. So the offering first, then visualization, then taking it forward to the intent, and then the willpower, and send it out. It's better to do any sort of thing like this in a sacred space, either cast a circle, or sit, meditate, feel the sense of protection round about you. And we'll be doing protection ritual, etc. further on in this channel. But basically make yourself feel safe, meditate as well. If you're doing something to, a female deity, or a deity that's known for their beauty or the things they want or like, then dress up. My goddess is Durga, and very ornate in all her appearances, and I would not do a ritual or an intent to Durga without having my earrings and my makeup on, because I feel that's something I'll do to honour her. Get to know the deity that you want to offer to and ask help. And then the more you know about the little ins and outs, like with Ganesh, you have sweets, and I would take sweets for Ganesh. Get to know, particularly if you are attracted to one sort of deity, what you feel they would like. You maybe wouldn't use the same deity if you were doing a fertility ritual as you would if you were maybe doing a wealth one. And some people just use the universe or the sense of God as the universal consciousness, and that's fine too. But just make sure you're doing everything with honour and with respect. And that way you can't really go wrong. Question yourself, first, why am I doing this? Is it for the greater good? do I know what I'm doing? Because magic has a way of going a wee bit awry at times, I've got plenty of examples of that. My husband says I'm like one of the fairies from Sleeping Beauty that goes bibbidi bobbidi boo with my magic, but it has some good results. So figure out what you're going to do and do it with the best of your heart and the best of intent. Who are you magically? That will evolve. That will only come as you do things. But certainly you find that you maybe have a magical persona, which is quite different from maybe who you are in your day job on the board or in the bank. Some people have different spiritual names that they only use in ritual. Some people dress very differently when they do ritual than they would in their normal everyday job. And that's where certain robes or certain ceremonial things can come in, because they do actually mark the difference between day-to-day life and being involved with magic. So if you feel that you want to have some sort of robe, or if you're more connected with, say, Native American path or whatever, and you want to use some feathers or you want to use certain herbs, then go ahead and use them. Build up your persona, but be authentic in it. Don't think, well, I'm going to do a ritual, so I need to cover myself in velvet and, I need to smell of all sorts of incense. It's not like that. Your persona has to be the true magical you. And if that just involves you as you are day to day, that's fine too, okay? But whatever happens, as you go into magic, go into it with a light heart, go into it with a good intent, and go into it very, very, very ethically. If something isn't resonating with you, don't do it. As we go through different things I'll be doing, I'll be telling you why I would do such a thing, and other things why I wouldn't even touch that. Be honourable with it, be authentic, and enjoy the process as well, because remember, it's a magical thing to be able to do it. And it can bring great joy. And when you do something, say it's a fertility ritual, and then you get the proof of it a few months down the line, it's wonderful. There's nothing nicer. And sometimes magic doesn't work, and then maybe it's not meant to. Maybe the universe is saying, no, well, that's not for the common good, or that would hurt someone. You hear the story of someone that, said they did magic for money and they needed money. And of course they got a big payout, but it was from their insurance because their house burned down. That's the way magic can work if you don't put in certain parameters. So be very, very careful and don't do it if in any way you feel that you are not sure of what you're doing, or in any way feel that is there a wee niggle there saying should I do it or should I not. But generally enjoy. Many blessings. Bye.